Hey guys, my name is Ayush and welcome back to my channel Board Bipolar. For today's video podcast, I have one of India's finest tech entrepreneur, Mr. Ayush Jaiswal. Thank you so much, sir, for giving me your time. He is the CEO and founder of Pesto Tech. So the first question is that what is the story behind Pesto? What is the reason that you started Pesto?
The reason why we started Pesto was that we saw that there are so many incredible engineers in the country, but they're always undervalued, right? And the reason I say that is because I feel that there is a fundamental change happening across the world. That the world is getting smaller every single day, right? And our thesis, our philosophy, and our belief is that we believe that differentiating people on the basis of geography is just not fair. So we wanted to make the world fair for engineers and get them the opportunities which they deserve.
Right. So I would want to understand the business model out of it for you and what the engineers get out of it, like how their lives change and all that.
I think so life changing part is a byproduct of what we are trying to do, right? And I feel that it is like, something which we anticipated that we had the intent to do, but it was just amazing. We didn't anticipate that we'll be able to do it at such massive scale, and that just proves that if you look at everybody from the same lens and be fair to everyone, magic happens right on the way. So I think our thesis was super simple, that we saw that engineers need some training to be at par with developers across the world with respect to soft skills, remote development, communication, and technical skills. So we created a program in which they have to learn from us in a 3-month program. And after they have done that, after they've completed the program, we get them jobs across the world. Everywhere in India, in Hong Kong, Singapore, US.
What does the salary look like if you compare it with a country like India?
So the salaries are quite different with respect to the countries which we are looking at. So I would say that based on the countries, it varies. But what we have seen across the batches which we have had, the range goes anywhere between 15 to 45, and we also have had the highest we've gone is 60 lakhs for somebody. So I think we believe that Indian engineers are worth more than 50, right? And then we finally had somebody who actually reached 60, right? And I think more than this, more than just the monetary perspective, I think money is just like a number, right? But more than the monetary perspective, what also kind of like matters to us is the learning curve which they have, is the companies that they get to work with. So we only sign up partners which are some incredible companies which we believe is going to be good for that engineer's career. And we've also had a few people who got less than 15 LPA, right? But then they also ended up getting 3 to 4x of their previous salaries, right? So I think it's just incredible that we have been able to like do this.
So I have been following Pesto for like around a year now. And a common misconception that I see around Pesto is that कि यार 30 lakhs United Kingdom में कमा रहे हैं, इतना उसको Indian terms में कम करे तो कोई खास फर्क पड़ता नहीं. The standard of living in United Kingdom is a lot. So what do you have to say about this?
So these people who get 30 or 50 or 60 lakh jobs are not working in United Kingdom. They are working from India. And they're making that money, right? And again, I'll emphasize on this that it is the technology which is changing the dynamics, right? Tech has evolved so much in the last 3 years, and because of that, this dynamic is being changed. And again, like money is one part of it, but I think the learning, the exposure, and everything else which comes along is far more important for everyone at Pesto than just a monetary perspective.
That's awesome. All right. So when you to start this idea, like can you just emphasize on the fact that how many startups that you had before Pesto and after you dropped out of college? What was the phase that you had?
That's a very long phase. 2 to 3 years, which looks like forever. But I think it's hard to count the number of startups you would have. But I think I was very clear in this perspective that I came away from my family. It's incredibly hard, right? There are so many people who live away from their families, and what matters in the end is you being around your loved ones, right? So I came here to learn how to build apps. I came here because I wanted to build a product, but that thing I didn't get at the college I was at. And I just realized that the Indian education system in general, right, it's just like away from reality. I think there's a huge gap between education and corporates, and the reason why it exists is because tech moves so fast. It's just like very difficult for educational institutions to catch up with them, right? So I decided to drop out, and then I'd been working on a bunch of different projects. I've done from food tech startups to a finance startup called Dealflow, to a co-working space, to it's like there are so many things which came in between.
So what was the amount of money that you lost in this?
I think I made and lost money. I was always good at a few things, right? Through which I made money through consulting. And then I used to invest that money. So you basically bootstrap, find hacks, and as an entrepreneur, if you're not frugal, if you're not able to throw your intellect at problems and figure out solutions, then I think that's like a skill which you have. It's in your resume.
So I think the startups that you had must have taught you a lot more than the college taught you, right?
I mean, I didn't. I mean, I'm not saying that the college doesn't teach you anything. They definitely do, right? It's like I'm not against that, but I think it's just meant for different kinds of people. For example, people who are engineers, right? College definitely gives you a good fundamentals, right? You should do college. But I wanted to go away from that, path, which is why it wasn't necessarily as good for me personally, right? I chose because personally I felt that I can learn more on my own, and I wanted to do more things. So yeah, I think for me, I learned more outside of that.
The question that I'm really interested in knowing the answer is that Indian education system, do you plan on doing anything about that? What is the vision for like Pesto? Is the vision of Pesto to intersect the Indian education system and change the engineering background, the engineering syllabus and all that as well?
Absolutely. I think there is a huge gap which lies between the education system and the corporate, as I said before, right? Our goal is to make the world fair for engineers, and everything which goes in that process, I will definitely try to help as many people as we can.
All right. So what do you think is the problem with the Indian education system right now? Like only the practicality, only the knowledge that we give, that we already know that there is a gap between what corporate wants and what the university is teaching. But is this the only thing that matters?
Yeah, I think I would say that I'm not equipped enough to comment on that in specific details. I can only talk about my experiences.
Through your experience only.
Absolutely. I mean, like my experience was that I didn't get to learn things which I was looking for specifically. And the reason I thought that it does not exist is because tech changes too fast, and it's really hard for colleges to keep up, right? And also personally, I'm not the classroom kind of person. Like even, I mean, Parth is sitting here, right? Knows me since school days. Rarely I attended classes. It's like so it's like I'm just not maybe meant for that. My ways were different.
So what would be the two takeaways from the failed startup that you had? The two takeaways, the biggest
takeaways. There are 10,000 takeaways.
Yeah, but the best two that you're like, yaar yahi tha yaar, जिससे मेरे को the man I am today.
So I think, I mean, first of all, I'm no one today. But I feel that the takeaways which I have is that experimentation has low cost, but the returns on that is very high if you learn enough from that. So we are like a process, right? Experiment, fail, learn, repeat, right? Now, experimentation is something which you can have by intent. Failure is something which you cannot avoid. Learning is based on, if you are curious enough, you will grasp so that your next experiment gets better. This is the process which you constantly need to repeat in order to kind of like get better in whatever you're doing, right? And the second thing was that when you're building a startup, and this happens very often with first-time entrepreneurs, that you build up things in your head that I'm not good enough now, I'll be perfect tomorrow. It's a very simple thing that don't shoot a bird with a cannon, right? You don't need a cannon to shoot a bird. Trying to shoot a bird, realize that, use a slingshot, build cannon. You don't have resources for a cannon, right? The Facebooks and the Googles of the world have the resources to build that cannon, right? So you need to like sort of move ahead with that mindset, that you cannot connect the dots in your head today based on what you are trying to build, right? You just need to keep experimenting And once you find that product market fit, once you find something which you people love, right, then all the connect dots will get connected automatically looking backwards, right?
Yeah.
It's like now it's easy to write down a story on why any of the successful startups worked, right? But when you were building it, then it's so don't try to build things up in your head, because that kind of like gives you a lot of assumptions, which hurts you in the longer scheme of things.
Right. So what I think is that braveness comes at a great cost. And honestly, I'm not brave enough to drop out. Like, I thought about it a lot of times, but even my field is not that I can drop out and I can earn from a freelancing job. But there are a lot of people who are not brave enough. Like, dropping out is a big deal, especially in a country like India, which focus on education, college. So you must have, you dropped out and you must have a lot of struggle in terms of the pressure, the peer pressure, the parental pressure, even monetary pressure. So what was that? What was the headspace? What was the feeling that was going on in your mind with all the startups and so much pressure?
यार इतना मैं सोचता तो मैं प्रेशर कुकर बन जाता I mean, you're thinking this way, you're talking about these things. कुछ नहीं था यार. It's just simple logic that you're here for a reason. You're here to, it's like you go to a grocery store to buy groceries, right? But you enter a grocery store and you find all electronics. What do? You walk out.
Yeah.
It's like, it's as simple as that. I also don't think that we should fantasize this, that dropping out of school. It's not, right? Because honestly, it was bloody difficult. It was very, very difficult. You need to be brave. I would not say that you need bravery, but I think you need to analyze the risks which are involved. And based on the risks which you are taking, you should take a sensible decision, right? Dropping out is not cool. It's just like you need to analyze whether it's meant for you or it's not meant for you, or what do you want to do, and all of those things, right? I've been following entrepreneurship since 2007, right? It's like, if you ask my school friends, I used to do Photoshop, was a big fan of design. Then I started building websites in school because I always had this mind that someday I've got to do all these things. Why not start learning now? Right? So I just had all that literature. I read a lot more books.
So there's absolutely no pressure that I just threw it on.
No, there was a lot of pressure, but it wasn't while deciding dropping out. The pressure came after dropping out.
So after dropping out. So it's crystal clear that yaar, mujhe yahi karna hai, and that made it easier for you.
Absolutely. I think I've had crystal clarity into what I want to be and what I want to do. That's why I love what I do today. I make mistakes and I still recover, and I know that, because I just love doing this, right? But absolutely, if you ask me, like, if it was difficult, it's bloody difficult. Don't do it just because it's cool.
So would, if you could go back in time, like Ayush Jaiswal of 20, would you still drop out?
Totally. I mean, because it worked out for me. But if you ask me if things didn't work out, I would of course say no, right? So it's like people, you're recording me today because it's like, it's like it worked out. There are so many people I know for whom it didn't work out, right? So I'd say I got lucky maybe, or I had a lot of persistence. I think you need to have a lot of clarity, persistence, hustle, and passion to do what you're doing. And I knew that my heart was always at the right place, so I knew that I'll figure it out, like, whatever the worst case is. But I absolutely don't mean to inspire anyone to keep doing this. Otherwise their parents will run after me.
Another question that just popped in my mind is that you have a lot of students that you have a lot of students in the program. Is there a story that inspires you personally, like somebody coming from this place and currently are in that place? So is there a story that you can just narrate in like a nutshell?
Yeah, at this point, we have had so many stories which are so inspiring for me that I just can't wait to scale this and have a lot more people. I think a couple of stories, a couple of things which I think is super inspirational. So we do dinners at Pesto. Friday evenings, we often like go out. Everybody's just sitting together, and we have this sort of thing where we ask them which state they're from, right? And often whenever there are 20 people in the room, then about 13, 15 different states people belong to. Right, so that's like super inspiring that you've been able to have such diverse group of people. And the only reason is that you only look at the tech skills, you don't look at their backgrounds. We have got dropouts, we have got people who are from IIT CS grad 2011, right, who worked at Flipkart, to people who are dropouts who haven't worked, just done like freelance jobs.
Yeah.
Everybody on the same stage because they deserve to be, because they just had a different path to reach where they are at right now, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they've had all sorts of people. Story which inspires me. Yeah, I think there are a couple of people. I think something which is really close to my heart is Barney, coming from a background which is so inspiring. I think it inspires me that how technology can change lives, right? In general, I think I would not try to take any credit from this. All the credit belongs to tech in general, right?
Yeah.
This guy grew up in a village called Perakatepallayam, Chinnathalitalayam, Terchongur, right, in Chennai. And I think I got it wrong again, but he belongs
Nobody
there.
would know.
Grew up without looking at a laptop or a phone. Didn't have access to electricity. He would, take care of 3 cows. His dad was a farmer. His school, he says in a very funny way that my school was a really good school. It had a roof, right? So this inspires you that he's looking at his entire life that he spent not as a struggle. He's thankful for good things. Like that shows you so much positivity, which that guy has. He's today the lead developer of a YC company called Clipboard Health, right? Making more than $48,000 a year. And he works from a place near his village in Chennai where he has internet access, right? Just imagine the impact he's had. He's paying off the debt of his father, who is a farmer. And it's all his hard work. It's all his dedication. And we're just like blessed to be like a small part of his journey.
Right. That's really inspiring. All right. So before we sign off, the last question not a question, like a message that you would want to give to, a 20-year-old who is confused in life. Like we are all confused. Like personally, I am confused at what I want to do. Do I want to do startup because it's cool, or do I want to go for a job, or MBA as in India? So what would you send across the message? Like there's so much of pressure. There is parental pressure. Everybody is giving CAT, they're giving GMAT, and you're like, hum bhi kar lete hain. The mental pressure is really high currently in the Indian teens right now. So what would you say them?
Yeah, I think this pressure, these problems, and all of these things, especially for a 20-year-old, exist. You know, all this pressure and all these things are like a rainbow. You notice one only when you're looking for it. Only when you're trying to find it, right? Normally, on a normal day, rainbows comes and go, right? You never notice it. But when you're looking for it, it's a rainy day. Let's find a rainbow, right? Rainbow also comes on different days, right? But you find them when you're looking for it. So this is a notion that all the problems are on your shoulders, and it's just a mindset, right? You have to come outside of it. And if you're confused and you don't know where you have to go forward in life, then it's just like a problem which it's not a question whether who has it. It's a fact that every single person has it. Like you can't expect a 20-year-old to know what they're going to do. So it's okay to not have direction. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to not even have a direction while you're 25, maybe 30, right? So different people have different timeline in their lives when they go in a particular direction, which completely changes their life, right? So just be okay with it. But at the same time, I think what you should always strive for is to figure out what you love doing. As long as you're passionate about doing it, I think there is no one who can stop you from, going wherever you are. But I think that feeling to go back to bed very late at night and then waking up early again and be excited to go to work again
and doing what you want to do.
This feeling is something which no one can fix. Only you can fix, and you need to figure out what you really love doing and just stick to it. No one can stop you, and as long as you know that you're going to work hard, there's no pressure. No, if you're going to work hard, I can guarantee you in 2 years, 3 years, you'll be successful, right?
Right.
If you're honest with yourself, right? There's nothing to worry about. Right. So it's like simple. Like don't overthink.
Overthinking.
Internet is a blessing today. Just make internet your best friend. And I believe that in today's age, that's what I was saying, it's technology which deserves the credit, right?
Yeah.
Technology has enabled everyone. Today I belong to Varanasi, right? Entrepreneurship was not even a word which anyone has heard there, right?
Exactly.
But I could just think of all of this because of internet, right? So just make internet your best friend. Figure out how you want to do what, and you'll for sure get there. Like it's not a question of whether you can,
there is a way.
yeah, whether you can go there or not. But it's just like a question of when you'll get there, as long as your intent is clear and your heart is at the right place.
All right. So this personally was one of the not only the smoothest podcast that I did, but also personally very inspiring for me. I'm being very honest. Like initially I was very nervous, but the way he treated me, like it feels like he's my friend. So I hope that this podcast, anybody who's watching this is getting something out of it. That we're just discussing that it must add value to you. So I hope that it add value to you. It's add value to you, and I'll also add Ayush's a link, Ayush's LinkedIn link and Instagram link. Do follow him, and thank you so much for watching.